Thyrotoxicosis is a broad term describing the clinical state of excess thyroid hormone action. While there are many causes, we'll be focusing on thyrotoxicosis caused by hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism specifically refers to excessive production and secretion of thyroid hormone by the thyroid gland. In patients with excess levels of thyroid hormone, we would expect to see increased metabolic activity. As metabolic activity and energy turnover increases, more energy is dissipated as heat. Therefore, on clinical examination of these patients, they tend to have warm, sweaty skin. These patients may also experience weight loss because their overall energy expenditure has increased. Thyroid hormones also increase the responsiveness of cardiovascular system to sympathetic stimulation, particularly through increased beta-1 adrenergic responsiveness in the heart. As a result, we can see increased heart rate, increased contractility, and increased cardiac output. We may also see effects on skeletal muscle. Excess thyroid hormones increase skeletal muscle metabolic activity and protein turnover and can eventually contribute to loss of muscle mass and muscle weakness. We previously mentioned effects of thyroid hormone on the nervous system. An excess of thyroid hormone essentially increases nervous system activity. These patients are often hyperreflexic, meaning their deep tendon reflexes tend to be exaggerated. Along these same lines, these patients may be irritable, anxious, and have trouble sleeping. With regard to the gastrointestinal tract, increased thyroid hormone can increase GI motility. Therefore, these patients may experience increased bowel movements or even diarrhea. A common cause of hyperthyroidism is Graves' disease. The anterior pituitary normally releases TSH, which bind to TSH receptors on the thyroid follicular cells and stimulates the synthesis and release of T3 and T4. Graves' disease is an autoimmune disease. In this condition, the immune system produces autoantibodies directed against the TSH receptor. When these autoantibodies bind to the TSH receptor, they stimulate the receptor and mimic the actions of TSH, resulting in increased levels of T3 and T4. Let's consider what happens to normal feedback mechanisms in this case. Because T3, T4 are elevated, they negatively feed back on the anterior pituitary, causing TSH levels to decrease. However, the decrease in TSH does not correct the elevated T3, T4 because stimulation of the thyroid is being driven by TSH receptor autoantibodies rather than by TSH itself. Therefore, in Graves' disease, we typically see elevated thyroid hormone levels with a suppressed TSH. Remember also that stimulation of TSH receptors has trophic effects on the thyroid gland. Because these autoantibodies continuously stimulate the TSH receptor, patients with Graves' disease commonly develop diffuse enlargement of the thyroid gland, a condition called goiter. These pictures show patients with very pronounced Graves' disease, so we can get a sense of some of the clinical findings. We said that increased thyroid hormones increases metabolic activity and can cause weight loss. These patients both appear to be thin. Patients may also demonstrate some nervous system manifestations that we discussed. You can perhaps visualize these patients as being rather anxious or irritable. But there are two particularly striking findings shown in these pictures. One is the enlargement of the thyroid gland or goiter. The other is involvement of the eyes. Graves' eye disease is also called Graves' orbitopathy or thyroid eye disease. It's an autoimmune inflammatory process involving tissues within the orbit. There can be inflammation and expansion of orbital tissues, including accumulation of glycosaminoglycans and expansion of orbital fat, and enlargement of the extraocular muscles. Because the orbit is a confined space, the increase in tissue volume pushes the eye forward. This protrusion is called proptosis, sometimes referred to as exophthalmos. Thyroid eye disease is highly characteristic of Graves' disease, and when present in a patient with hyperthyroidism, provides an important clue to the underlying diagnosis. Another cause of hyperthyroidism is a hyperfunctioning thyroid nodule, also called a toxic adenoma. Here we have a normal thyroid gland, and next to it we have a radionucleotide thyroid scan. Thyroid follicular cells avidly take up and concentrate iodine because iodine is required for thyroid hormone synthesis. We can take advantage of this property to evaluate the functional activity of different areas of the thyroid gland. In a patient with a hyperfunctioning nodule, a group of thyroid cells becomes autonomously functioning. These cells produce excess T3 and T4 without requiring normal TSH stimulation. As T3, T4 levels increase, they negatively feed back on the pituitary and decrease TSH secretion. Even though TSH is suppressed, the autonomously functioning nodule continues to produce thyroid hormone. On a radionucleotide thyroid scan, the hyperfunctioning area demonstrates increased uptake and appears as what we call a hot nodule. Because the circulating TSH is suppressed, the normal thyroid tissue surrounding that nodule usually has reduced activity on the scan. Another much less common form of hyperthyroidism is caused by a TSH-secreting pituitary adenoma. In this case, cells within a pituitary tumor secrete TSH inappropriately. The TSH stimulates the thyroid gland and causes increased production of T3 and T4. Normally, the elevated T3 and T4 should feed back on the anterior pituitary and suppress TSH secretion. However, the tumor does not respond appropriately to this negative feedback, so TSH remains inappropriately high. Because TSH continues to stimulate the thyroid gland, these patients may also develop thyroid enlargement. There are various causes of excess thyroid hormone. We're not covering all of them here, but these examples allow us to use the feedback system to begin localizing the underlying problem. In Graves' disease, T3 and T4 are elevated and TSH is suppressed. With a toxic adenoma, T3 and T4 are elevated and TSH is also suppressed. With a TSH-secreting pituitary adenoma, T3 and T4 are elevated, but the TSH is not suppressed. All three of these are examples of a patient with thyrotoxicosis due to hyperthyroidism. Finally, let's look at thyroiditis. Thyroiditis is an inflammatory process involving the thyroid gland. In some forms, damage to the thyroid follicles causes previously synthesized and stored thyroid hormone to leak into the circulation. As a result, patients can develop elevated levels of thyroid hormone and symptoms of thyrotoxicosis. TSH will be suppressed because the increased circulating thyroid hormone still produces normal negative feedback on the pituitary. This is where the distinction we made at the beginning becomes useful. Thyroiditis can produce thyrotoxicosis, but the thyroid is not actually synthesizing excessive amounts of new hormone. Instead, stored hormone is being released from damaged thyroid tissue. So our first three examples of Graves' disease, toxic thyroid adenoma, and pituitary adenoma all are examples of thyrotoxicosis caused by hyperthyroidism. Thyroiditis is not. So if a patient presents with signs and symptoms of thyrotoxicosis, the laboratory pattern can help determine the underlying cause. It's important to understand these feedback mechanisms because the pattern of TSH and thyroid hormone levels can help direct our further workup. Additionally, we can obtain tests looking for autoantibodies against the thyroid, which would suggest Graves' disease, or a radionucleotide scan if we're concerned about a toxic adenoma. Combining appropriate testing will help determine the etiology of the patient's underlying thyrotoxicosis.